to episode 12 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. So, today we're not going to be focusing on Europe. That doesn't mean we'll talk about Europe, but we will talk about Europe. As Poland, for some reason, wanting to unite Polish people, declares war on this nation and destroys it almost immediately. And then the peace treaty is pretty simple, as full annexation. And that's pretty much all that really happens today. As today, a big war is going to happen in Asia. The two Chinese teams, seeing the Irish team here, have different views. The purple team sees this as like an opportunity to connect with what may be out there. But the orange team thinks that the purple country should only expand its sphere of influence to this. But the purple team wants its sphere of influence to be around the world, mainly outside areas they haven't seen. And knowing times, this is going to cause a war. Immediately, the orange team, being one of the stronger ones, and the Chinese country will be continuing to expand greatly for a little while, as they use a lot of stuff. And they even get close to cutting off the capital. But then the Chinese country gets their stuff together, and they start pushing back the orange team, mainly going after the coastlines, mainly because they're the most valuable. Despite there being a lot of people here, there's still more people here. And these guys continue to expand inland, and they start, which is going to be part of their strategy. Then the strategy starts as they do a massive spearhead towards the coastline of the northern Chinese country. This is a big news, since all of the Chinese armies, the northern Chinese armies, are here and here. In here. There's nothing here or up here. And these are valuable land. And if they could cut these off, the orange country could technically win this war. And they successfully cut off the northern Chinese country and make another spearhead to cut off them twice. This is bad for the northern Chinese country, but luckily for them, something is going to happen. The Vietnamese country is going to declare war on the Chinese country, the southern Chinese country. And this goes really successful. They even get close to taking the capital, and then another thing happens to the southern Chinese country that's also bad for them. A rebellion in Taiwan takes place, and it starts to spread around the country, completely just making big pockets of southern Chinese rebels have come to life. Then the northern Chinese country takes away and connects their lands again, and starts pretty big pushes to go towards the capital of the southern Chinese country. Looks bad for the South Chinese country. Yes, it does. But the Vietnamese are going to, but they have very strong force defenses. They kind of built a giant fortification around this capital region, and this is protecting them from their own, from invasion. The capital from invasion. But the capital gets surrounded. But the southern Chinese country was preparing for this, as they knew that rebellion was going to happen, and they could have possibly broken up. So they made mini governments within these countries, which is really good, since for the southern Chinese country, as they still technically operate, just not directly connected to the capital, but they still operate pretty well. But then the Vietnamese country leaves this war, which is big news for the northern Chinese country, as the southern Chinese country has stalemated these rebels down here and could completely focus on the northern Chinese country. Yeah, they start pushing back a lot over here. And it's a pretty big rebellion, and the rebellions they also start to get. But then, accidentally, when they try to invade here to connect the capital, but they accidentally invade right down the middle, which is technically in Vietnamese territory, activating Vietnam back in this war. And immediately the defenses fall, and then all Vietnamese troops just storm and burn the capital to smithereens. There's no hope for the capital getting back, and it's just not good. And the southern Chinese country is going to start taking all their territory back, pretty much. Taking all of it back. Getting to about here, before more rebellions start to pop up in the Orange Chinese country, and they do eventually connect with each other, and this part falls over. And then the Orange Chinese country officially surrenders over to all of these people, which now we can finally see the peace treaty of this pretty big war. And this is the peace treaty between all of the nations, all of them. And now China is completely different, and we're not going to Europe. We're actually staying in Asia this entire episode. So the Iran country is going to continue expanding into some mountainous regions they find. If you haven't watched the episodes, these guys really like mountains, which is good for them, and they're pretty good explorers of mountainous territories. So they're going to be a major player in exploring the Himalayas. Speaking of the Himalayas, the Blue Indian country is going to expand a little bit more into India towards the Himalayas, and so will the Indian Yellow country. And this Orange Indian country is going to discover and colonize all of Sri Lanka. And Asia is becoming more and more full. But then something happens to the Central Asian country, as this Orange country breaks away from the Central Asian country. But then another country is going to break away from this. This Pink Magenta country is going to also break away, which let's add capitals, and that is pretty big. And these countries can now focus on their respective areas, as the Pink country starts expanding more into their Chinese territories, as they see these are very valuable and want to control them in the future. By the way, if I haven't seen any suggestions in the comments So definitely go put those in there because I won't be. If I. Well. No. By the time this episode comes out, I will probably have already recorded. So just see. We'll just see. So this is Central Asia and Asia as a whole so far. And more of China is slowly being discovered over time. But then a big country soon after a pretty big expansion by the Vietnamese country is going to form in all like right around this kind of area. And let's see what that country looks like. As a new brown country is going to form in Asia. Asia is becoming a lot more full in this episode. If you can't really tell, a lot of stuff has been happening in Asia, but barely anything in Europe. And that is for a particular reason that may be another big war. This country becomes gigantic, if you can't really tell. They claim a bunch of territory in in Asia. So now it kind of the northern Chinese country is going to expand into the entirety of the Korean Peninsula, completely taking over all of the Korean Peninsula, which is pretty big for them. And I think I'm gonna actually. No. What's your opinion on trade routes? Type down below. But now, let's take a break from Asia for this episode and do some Africa updates, as this country, the Iberian country, is going to continue expanding their Moroccan claim sort of thing here. And it's going to become pretty big. And so will this African country. It's going to also become pretty big with expansions. And so will this Egyptian country. That's been here for a while, but we just haven't known about it until recently. And that is actually going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and see you in episode 13, hopefully tomorrow.